Today, I'm going to share a recipe for the best green bean casserole. This recipe is from Alton Brown with Food Network, and I made it once. And in this particular recipe, it makes 4 to 6 servings. I tripled it the first time for a Thanksgiving dinner, and it was very successful. It's about a 25-minute prep and about 25 minutes in the oven when you finally finish with with the casserole. The first thing we're going to start with is the onions. The onions are the topping and it has to go in the oven as the first function. And when I made the onions, the first time around, I made it on a mandolin. And a mandolin cuts the onions in a real nice small piece. But the problem was when I tried to introduce them into the casserole, they would all lump up. So the best version was the second time I made them, and I just cut the onions by hand, which is probably a better thing than a mandolin anyway. So the onions go on a sheet pan, and we're going to mix some flour and some panko with that, mix it up, and put it in the oven at 450 degrees for about 30 minutes. And the tip is to set the timer for 10 minutes so you automatically will be forced to go in and check and be sure you turn the oven. The rest of the ingredients we're going to look at are onions, yellow onions, a pound of green beans, fresh, 12 ounces of mushrooms, some chicken broth. I use vegetable broth, your option, and half, about 1 cup of half and half. Now, to the beans, the beauty of fresh beans is they come in all sorts of lengths. And once you take the ends off and prep them for whatever size you want for the casserole, and generally speaking, I left some of them so you could either cut with a knife and a fork or just eat them just the way you are, depending on what you'd like to do. We're going to blanch the green beans in a gallon of water with 2 tablespoons of salt. The blanching part is critical because we want to be sure the water gets to a full boil. If you put the green beans in early, they're going to sit in the water and wait for the pot to boil. And there's too much exposure. All we want is about 4 to 5 minutes in the boiling water, pour it off, dump it in a ice bath, and cool the beans as quick as you can. Mushrooms is the next item. We're going to use 12 ounces of mushrooms, and we're going to cut into 1/4 inch pieces or 1/2 inch pieces, whatever you desire. We're going to add salt and pepper at that point, and excuse me, and we're going to stir the mushrooms until they get off some liquid. About 4 or 5 minutes. We're going to add 2 cloves of garlic, minced, and we'll cook another minute. And we're going to sprinkle 2 tablespoons of flour and cook for another 1 minute. Next comes the broth, either vegetable or chicken, whatever you prefer. And we're going to bring that up to a simmer, a warm simmer, and start to reduce that whole mixture down. And we're going to then add a cup of half and half after the mixture reaches a little cooler point from where we tried to reduce the viscosity of the mix. We're going to stir occasionally for about 6 or 8 minutes just to make sure everything is thickening up. And we're going to remove them from the heat and stir in 1/2 cup of the onions. And back to where I was talking about with the onions, like in this version, I mean, it was fun to do in the mandolin, but this one mixed into the casserole very nicely. We're going to top with onions and bake until lovely, about 15 or 20 minutes. And we made a sample here that I want to share with you. And you can see the onions are mixed in the topping very well. And let's take a look at these green beans and see how they came out. Certainly not a big enough portion, but get to the idea about how well the casserole turned out. Thank you very much.